The NFL kicks off season number 103 with the Bills visiting the Super Bowl champion Rams. The Eagles are ascending, right? Barrett Brooks on the Hard Knocks Detroit Lions. Gary Myers is in a New York football state of mind. And we got picks, props, fantasy, and a lot more. It's This Week in Pro Football. Hi, I'm Pat Callahan, and welcome to season number 20 of This Week in Pro Football. It's actually season number 1 for my exciting new partnership with the boys at JAKIB Sports. And I'm very pleased to be here and to roll out the first televised version of this long-running radio program. And I'm very excited to be here, and I look forward to the next 4 to 5 months of talking some serious football with all of you, and some very exciting people that are going to join me each and every week as we discuss the National Football League. For this week, week 1, it's always the most exciting week in the NFL. The NFL rolling out its product. It gets bigger and glitzier every single year. And this week, I've got I think a pretty good roster. Barrett Brooks will be joining me in just a few minutes to talk about the Eagles and the Lions and the NFC East. I got my old buddy Joe Tordy, my old radio partner, is going to join me, talk a little fantasy. Shawn Green from Bet SGPN Sports, great guy, and he's already off to a really good start. We'll check out his website and how well he's doing as far as his Thursday night pick and what he likes for this coming week. Shawn and I will be doing a pick segment, my 3 picks against his every week. I expect to be completely buried in that as the season goes along. And then the great Gary Myers is going to join us at the end of the hour to talk about some interesting games in week 1 and some interesting issues going on throughout the National Football League. And let me start with that. It was obviously, like every season in the NFL, a busy offseason. Let's talk about some storylines. The Philadelphia Eagles go into this season with the second easiest schedule in the NFL based upon win-loss records of 2021. So things are really set up for the Eagles. They have, of course, 4 games against Washington and New York, which I think they can't do worse than 3-1 coming out of those games. They play the AFC South, which we all know is the NFL's homeless division. It just never seems to get any better. So you have Jacksonville and Houston in there, which certainly should be wins for Philadelphia. More competitive games against Tennessee and Indianapolis. But still, I see it. The Eagles could win 8 of their first 9 games. It sets up very well for Philadelphia this season. And it's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out with the Eagles, whether they can make use of what is, I think, an easier schedule, get off to a fast start, put some pressure on the Dallas Cowboys. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in Tampa Bay. Tom Brady retired, but the announcement wasn't made to his liking. I think Adam Schefter ruined what Tom Brady was going to do by, the pressure is going to be, I got to break the story. You got to be first. So Schefter breaks it. I think Brady was very unhappy with that. So he unretires, which I don't think sat well at all in the Brady household. I think that resulted in the 12-day sabbatical that Tom took in the middle of camp. But the point of all this is he really committed? Is that the real Tom Brady coming back for season number 23? Let's face it, the law of averages is stacked immensely against Brady. Except for one time, he's avoided any serious injury in his career. You're talking about a 45-year-old guy with every down, there's a thundering herd of beef that's trying to tear him limb from limb. It's going to be interesting to see if Tom is every bit the player that he's been throughout his sterling career. Aaron Rodgers picks up things for the Green Bay Packers. Aaron, pushing 38 years old. Now no Davante Adams. That will be interesting to see if he can work around what is a massive loss. Adams clearly one of the top 3 wideouts in the National Football League. And we'll see how much magic Aaron Rodgers still has in that right arm and his really uncanny ability and his leadership ability up in Green Bay. Can he do it with what is now a very pedestrian stable of wide receivers in the Great North. Can all 4 AFC West teams actually make the playoffs? The AFC West is absolutely stacked this year. The AFC West this year is the NFC West of last year, with Kansas City still strong, even without Tyreek Hill. You've got Patty Mahomes. I think Mahomes is going to have a good year because he sees now that even though he's on just an endless number of commercials, I think he's looking around now at Josh Allen and some other rising quarterback stars and saying to himself, I got to make an impact. So I think the Chiefs are still going to be strong this year. The Chargers have immense talent. The only problem with the Chargers is that they're the Chargers, and they just find the most uncanny way to lose games and end up in road playoff games or must-win games in December. But they have tremendous talent. The Chargers are going to be heard from this year. The Raiders pick up Devontae Adams. And the question there is Derek Carr. Can Derek Carr get the most out of Devontae Adams or get anywhere near what Aaron Rodgers got out of Devontae Adams? If he can, the Raiders are going to be a problem for sure. And then there's Denver. Another great question mark now in Denver. Denver finally rolls the dice on it. They've always been a talented team, strong defense, and they will now have Russell Wilson again in the latter stages of his career. It's amazing how it's a young man's game, but at the quarterback position, it's an old man's game. And we'll see how Russell Wilson does in Denver. Denver, of course, and the way the NFL has that unique ability, guess where Denver goes to open the season on Monday night? Yes, they go to Seattle, much as Baker Mayfield will host the Cleveland Browns in a much lesser game in terms of drama for his new team, the Carolina Panthers. But a lot of dramatic storylines going on this week in the NFL. We hope to get to a lot of them. A word about last night's game. Many of you who listened to me on the radio for all these years know I am a diehard Los Angeles Ram fan. I did go to the Super Bowl last year and enjoyed that immensely because I'm not going this year. I think there has not been a repeat champion in the NFL since the New England Patriots did it 18 years ago. And there's a reason for that, because it's almost impossible to repeat as a champion. Psychologically, I just don't think you can almost do it anymore. The accolades, the money, the rubber chicken, all the attention that's paid to you as a champion, it just can't help but affect you coming into the next year. I think the Rams are in for a tough season. They have a incredibly difficult schedule. Buffalo, in the meantime, they're ascendant. There's no question the Bills are the team to beat in the AFC, and I don't think many teams are going to do it. That is a powerful team with a quarterback who is just he is a laboratory experiment, Josh Allen, one that worked, I might add. And they're going to be a tough out 17 times this year, the Bills, because they play with a chip on their shoulder, in addition to having immense talent on both sides of the ball. The addition of Von Miller, you saw it last night, what that's going to mean. Buffalo is going to be one tough out all season long in the NFL, and especially in the AFC. So a lot of storylines, a lot of interesting things to talk about. I want to run through, before I get to my trivia question, I want to run through some quick picks for this year. These, of course, don't mean anything, right? I mean, nobody even remembers who guys like me said we picked in week one, but we all do it. So even you do it, so I'll do it. But in the NFC, I do like Philadelphia. I like Tampa Bay, Green Bay. I like San Francisco. And I promise you, I wrote this down before last night's game. I like San Francisco to win that NFC West. Trey Lance, a big question mark, but that's a loaded team, San Francisco. And I think, like I said, the Rams are going to take a step back. I see the Rams, Dallas, and Minnesota as wild cards, but Tampa Bay beats Green Bay in the NFC title game. So I am predicting, or I guess I asked the question about Tom Brady. I think he's going to be good enough to get Tampa Bay back to the Super Bowl. Buffalo, of course, Indianapolis, I think will win the AFC SAC South, Cincinnati in the North, and the LA Chargers in the AFC West. Now that's finally will the Chargers, who have a hell of a quarterback too, and Justin Herbert, will they make the statement that they should be making with a guy like that and a lot of talent on that Charger team? Kansas City, Denver, and Baltimore as wild cards. I see Buffalo beating Kansas City in the AFC title game, and I see Buffalo beating Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. I think the Bills are going to stomp their way to a Super Bowl title this year. In many, many years, there's just one team that just rises above and says, we're going to take it. We're going to win it. I think that year, 2022, is the year of the Buffalo Bill. Let me roll out a trivia question here, which I do for I've done for years, and I want to show this to you. Nobody has seen this before because I haven't done TV, but this is my fabulous This Week in Pro Football t-shirt here that you're going to win if you can answer me this question. And all you have to do is tweet the answer to @TWIPFPat. That's my Twitter handle. Please send me a follow @TWIPFPat, or you could send it to the station here, the network, @JAKIB Sports. That's @JAKIB Sports. And the question is this: of all active running backs in the National Football League entering 2022, active, name me the running back with the most career rush yards. Not that hard, is it? Just name me the active career rushing leader in the National Football League going into the 2022 season, and that t-shirt will be on its way to you. All right, when we get back, I'm going to be joined by my good friend Barrett Brooks. We're going to talk about the Eagles and the Detroit Lions. We're going to talk a little Hard Knocks, and we're going to talk some NFC East when we come back on This Week in Pro Football.
It was late at night. I was browsing KennedyAuto.com when there was a knock at my door.
Hey, baby, what you doing?
Buying a car from John Kennedy Ford.
Online?
I let her in on the secret. KennedyAuto.com makes car buying easy. That got her attention.
Can I go for a ride?
Let me get my coat. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles!
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at UGIES.com. Are you looking for a family-friendly fitness center in the heart of Bucks County? Spring Mill Athletic Club has programs and activities to offer the whole family for every age and season. Group classes, personal training, dance academy, summer camp, and more can be found at this non-intimidating environment. Come tour Spring Mill Athletic Club today and get a free 1-week trial membership. Visit us at springmillathletic.com for more information.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Pro Football, the first televised edition. And, of course, who's my first guest to have on my first televised edition of the show? That would be Super Bowl champion Barrett Brooks, the host of Sports Take with Derek Gunn and Rob Ellis. And I'm thrilled to have him with me this morning. Barrett, how are you?
Pat, how's it going today?
All right. Thanks very much for coming on, Barrett. Look forward to talking to you throughout what I think promises to be a pretty good season. Just give me a quick take Barrett, the Bills walk in, and how much of a marker did Buffalo lay down, in your opinion, last night in that beating of the Rams?
I know everybody's saying that Allen would probably be the MVP. Well, he kind of reassured everyone that he is worth everything they're paying him. He's worth having all those accolades going forward. He systematically picked that defense apart. He showed athletic ability. He used his legs. He was just on. I mean, he's in midseason form. At the first game, he's out there in midseason form. So I was really surprised how good he is.
Yeah. I think, Barrett, I said in the opening of the show that I think Buffalo is going to – some seasons there's just one team that just says we are the best team and we're going to show you. And I think Buffalo is that team, I think, for this year. I think the NFC is going to be very competitive. But I think the AFC, I think it's Buffalo's to lose, and I don't see how they're going to lose.
Yeah, look at they got the perfect balance of what you want. Now that they have a running game, it really sets them apart from everybody else. They got James Cook, although he fumbled, he still has some explosiveness.
Yeah,
the running back position with Singletary, he's still explosive. They're a complete team now. I mean, look at the tight end position, Knox. If I was a fantasy guy, I would definitely pick Knox up because.
And the receivers. And Von Miller, the addition of Von Miller is obviously is made that defense even more explosive. But
perfect compliment to Oliver. Compliment to Oliver.
I know, right? All right, Barrett, I got a million things to go through with you here. So as usual, I want your short clip, professional answers that you're known for. But let's start with this. Did you ever go through a Hard Knocks as a player?
No, I didn't. No.
What are your thoughts on it? What are your thoughts on it? How distracting do you think it is? Do you think it's a plus, a minus in any way, say for the Detroit Lions 2022?
I think it's more so a minus for them. It gives, the people kind of a look inside what happens in camp and locker room. But I believe that the players, kind of play up to it and they find the best clips for it because now everybody's thinking this Detroit team is a all-world physical, tough, going to be really good. But that's still Detroit. Detroit is a bad football team. They don't have a lot of players that can go out there and really make huge plays. But it looked like it out there, and hence that's why you see they lost the majority of their the games they played in and in the scrimmage. It just really puts them in a better light than what they are. I love Campbell. Dan was my guy. I played with Dan a year. He was actually Jeremy Shockey's handler during that time. He kept him straight. But I like how they did that, but it's just, they're still the Lions.
They're still the Lions. As a matter of fact, that's a perfect segue because that's a team that is since 2000 has had 4 winning seasons, Barrett. And since that time, they're 113 and 222. How badly does a legacy of losing like that, how badly does it weigh on a team? Or is a team able year in, year out to say that doesn't matter? This is this year. Can they separate it?
It's hard to get that culture out of that locker room to you got to bring in people that have from a winning culture to really start that. And hence that's why they brought Campbell in. It's tough. I was on that 2000 team. That was a 99-2000 team where we were pretty successful. I think we made it to the playoffs that year.
That's right.
So we had a pretty good team. But it's just still so hard to lose that, culture and to lose, all right, here we go. All right, it's starting now. I told you so. Here we go again. That attitude is still in that locker room.
Yeah. That's excellent. That's excellent insight. Thank you. All right, let's talk about the Philadelphia Eagles now, Barrett, if I might want to, who the Detroit Lions play host to. The Eagles destroyed them last year in the same circumstance, 44-6. And now Philadelphia comes back in there. And Barrett, there's a lot of buzz about the Eagles last year. I mentioned in the open, I think they have a very easy schedule. They can win. They could conceivably, I think, win 8 of their first 9 just based upon week-to-week matchups. How much is the table set for the Eagles this year, and what are your expectations for them?
Very favorable, schedule. You look at it, just like you said, the start of the season, it could be really, really easy for them to go out there and think highly of themselves and think they're more than what they are. But, they understand it's going to take hard work for them to really, show who they are, and you can hear Kelsey, you can hear guys in the locker room saying, hey, I can remember when we thought we were good and we were the worst team out there. And then I had a team, that we thought they were just okay, we're average, and they ended up winning the Super Bowl. So they have the right culture, they have the right guys in that locker room to really tell the younger guys, look, guys, you got to keep it going. You got to keep it moving. But they are talented everywhere, and it's up to the quarterback to really show how talented they are.
Man. See what a professional Barrett Brooks is. He just segues right into the next thing I'm going to ask him. Almost like we rehearsed this last night. Because now it's time. I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. Now, would you classify or characterize this year as a make or break year for Jalen Hurts?
Not really necessarily make or break, but this could definitely break the bank. It's not make or break, but it could break the bank. If he goes out and shows what I think he can do, and that's to go out there and be a very good quarterback, not necessarily a top 10 quarterback. He can be right where he needs to be. I mean, his skill set is that, he makes the right, he's going to make the right reads now. That's going to be a part of his game now. He's going to make the right reads. He's going to play within his skill set. He's going to make sure he goes out there and uses the talent that he has. Is he going to blow up the stat sheet? No, he's not going to blow up the stat sheet. He's going to go out there and play consistent football. And that's what you want from your quarterback. If your quarterback can consistently go out there, make plays, and then the most important stat that he's going to fill and have some, some great stats in is the win column. He is a winning quarterback, and that's what you want from a quarterback. You can have the best quarterback in the world. Hence, look at the Chargers. They got a really good quarterback, but will they be better than anybody else? I doubt seriously. They're still going to be the Chargers.
Right.
And, I really think that, he can be a winning quarterback and have some success and lead this team in the right direction.
Yeah, I believe he does too. I think, as you said a minute ago, I think he's got the talent, and they certainly have the schedule. And what you mentioned too about guys like Jason Kelce, it dovetailed exactly with what you said on the flip side about the Detroit Lions. Those guys are invaluable. Kelce already came out during a press conference that we haven't won a single thing yet. I think that'll be an invaluable
absolutely,
Eagles,
absolutely. Right? There's only so much that Dan Campbell can do with rah-rah and hey, and then all of a sudden, talent takes over, and the more talented team will win.
Yeah. Barrett, let me get that take from you. Just give me a couple sentences as we rumble through the wasteland that it really could be the NFC East. I think it's better than last year's version, Barrett. But let's talk to me about the Dallas Cowboys. I see the Dallas Cowboys taking a step back this year. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Anytime you lose 3/4 year, well, now it's 4/5 of the offensive line now.
Right.
You're just not going to be as good as you were the year before. So because of that, they can't do the same things. They can't play action. Dak Prescott will be a good quarterback, but he won't be anywhere near what he's been in the past because he just doesn't have anybody in front to block for him. Yep. They don't have the receivers anymore. They let Cooper go. They got Washington, but he's hurt right now. CeeDee Lamb is a great receiver. He might be the best receiver in the division, but it's going to be all for naught because he doesn't have anything to sustain this quarterback pushing the ball down to him down the field. So I don't see them going forward. I think they go backwards. And I mean, them losing, Randy Gregory on the defensive side of the ball, it just didn't bode well for them. So I think now they become very, very human and very beatable. And this may be the first time that they might get swept by the Eagles.
I agree, Barrett. I think they're going to take a major step back too. I have them as a wild card, but that's only because I'm not sold. But there's some other teams in the NFC East that are NFC that are weaker. But the loss of Tyron Smith, I think, is devastating. I don't think they're going to have much of a running game at all. And in this league, boy, you've got to still run. You still have to be able to run the ball in order to win the game. The Rams showed that.
Ask your Rams. Yeah, I'm about to say, ask your Rams.
Yeah, look at them. They could not get past the line of scrimmage against a very good Buffalo team. All right, the Washington Commanders. Every year we hear the same nonsense. So it's funny, Barrett. Ron Rivera, somehow, you talk about a Teflon coach. The guy just never seems to win anything. I know he made a Super Bowl with Carolina, lost to Denver. But other than that, I think he's been a very pedestrian NFL coach. If you stopped anybody on the street and said, name me 5 Washington Commanders, I don't think they could do it. Is there anything to get excited about with this team?
Well, I mean, of course, they're front 4. It used to be front 7. But now it's their front 4. They have really good guys in front 4. But are they a great team? No. Carson can be a great quarterback. He'll be a guy who can light up statistics, but just doesn't have the winning mindset. He'll eventually be Carson and mess up, and they'll go and fall to the wayside as usual. But they can light it up front, but then they don't have any linebackers. They don't have a secondary. So that team will probably be pedestrian at best.
Yeah, I think so too. I see 6-11, 7
Yeah.
and 10, whatever. And then there's finally the New York Football Giants coming off a disastrous year with, I think, still marginal offensive talent, a better offensive line, and allegedly focused and fired up Saquon Barkley. Anything to get excited about in the Big Apple.
I mean, you might get excited about Saquon and that offensive line being able to block for him, but you still have Jones at the quarterback, and no matter what Dable does, he's not going to be able to get Jones going in the right direction. He's just not a quarterback that you can rely and put a franchise on. So until he gets his guys, they'll still be the seller of the NFC East.
The 6th overall pick the year he was taken by Dave Gettleman
Out of Duke.
You can't out of Duke. You can't and it just goes to show you, Barrett. We talked about it in previous years, previous shows. You can't overcome those kind of mistakes when your front office makes them.
Yep.
It just, the multiplier effect of those mistakes and the years it takes you to undo them. There you go. But all right, Barrett, I appreciate it very much. It's going to be interesting to see how it rolls out for Philadelphia. I look forward to talking to you throughout the season. Are you still working 25 hours a day? I know you're
I have to.
College football. You're all over the place. What else are you working on?
That's what I mean. That's what I do. I do college football on the weekends. I just did BYU at South Florida. BYU just took them apart. A very fundamentally sound team. They beat up on that on the Bulls, from South Florida. This week I got Lafayette at Temple, so I'm in my backyard. And then next week I got Rutgers at Temple. So love college football.
Can you do me a favor and arrange for Temple to win those games? That would be very nice, Barrett. We need some good news on North Broad Street. All right.
Exactly. I got you.
All right. Well, listen, Barrett. Thanks very much, pal. It's always great talking to you. Look forward to talking to you throughout the season. All right.
Appreciate it, Pat. Thanks a lot.
All right. Thanks very much. The great Barrett Brooks joining me, and I look forward to talking to him all season long. When we get back, it's an equally great friend of mine and my partner for many years on the radio for This Week in Pro Football. Joe Tordy is going to join me. We're going to talk some fantasy football on This Week in Pro Football.
Attention neighbors. I have something big to announce.
Hey, hon, is that Tim on the roof with a megaphone?
M&T Bank's Easy Choice Checking is now free from a monthly maintenance fee and free from a minimum balance requirement.
Bill, did you hear that?
Oh.
And while I'm up here, Bill, I'd appreciate it if you stopped raking your leaves into my lawn.
Bill?
Thank you.
Big news. Easy Choice Checking from M&T Bank is now even better than before. It's free from a monthly maintenance fee and free from a minimum balance requirement, leaving you, well, free from worry.
Now, does anyone have a ladder?
So if you're looking for an easy-to-manage account that can help you save on fees, look no further than Easy Choice Checking from M&T. Stop by any M&T Bank branch today or visit mtb.com/easychoice. M&T Bank, understanding what's important. Other transaction and service fees, including insufficient funds and overdraft fees, may apply to this account. Member FDIC.
Where do you tailgate when your team's away? Join Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill for their first ever Birds Tailgate Party on Sunday, September 25th, starting at noon under the tent. Enjoy a full tailgate buffet from only $26.95 per person, along with specials at the bar. Celebrate with friends cheering on our hometown team. Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill Athletic Club. Visit juddsdining.com for more details.
It was late at night. I was browsing KennedyAuto.com when there was a knock at my door.
Hey, baby, what you doing?
Buying a car from John Kennedy Ford.
Online?
I let her in on the secret. KennedyAuto.com makes car buying easy. That got her attention.
Can I go for a ride?
Let me get my coat. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Are you looking for a family-friendly fitness center in the heart of Bucks County? Spring Mill Athletic Club has programs and activities to offer the whole family for every age and season. Group classes, personal training, dance academy, summer camp, and more can be found at this non-intimidating environment. Come tour Spring Mill Athletic Club today and get a free 1-week trial membership. Visit us at springmillathleticClub.com for more information.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Pro Football, my first televised effort here, the great folks at JAKIB Sports. Very excited to be joining them and very excited to have my old buddy, Joe Tordy, my old partner on the radio, This Week in Pro Football. Good morning, JT.
Into the old thing? Do we have to lean into that so much? Like, I have 3 kids at home. They make me feel old as it is. I don't need it from every angle, but it's good to be here with you anyway.
Considering you look next to me on the screen, you look about 11 years old. I don't see that as a big problem for you, Joey. But it's great to have you back here. Joining me, I'm going to bring Joe back throughout the season because he always has good takes, always interesting stuff to talk about with the NFL. But this segment here, Joe, I want you to concentrate on some fantasy football. So get your hand away from the screen would be appreciated there, JT. But let's talk some fantasy, Joe. Last night, the Rams bludgeoned by Buffalo. How concerned, I guess.
I'm trying to deal with the Wi-Fi issues, make sure that the Wi-Fi issues are gone. I'm sorry about that. I'm ready, Pat. I'm ready to go.
All right. Last night, Cam Akers and Allen Robinson owners ready to throw their fantasy teams' draft sheets right out the window. How concerned are you, other than Cooper Kupp, who's just an amazing, amazing NFL player? How concerned are you for owning any Rams after week 1?
Big picture, Pat, I'm big time concerned. One of my big takeaways from last night was that the Rams have been lying to us, who have been concerned about Matthew Stafford's elbow health. I don't know about you as a Rams fan, but to me, it looked apparent that there wasn't a whole lot of zip. And as a result, some of the decisions were a little bit different than we've seen in years past. Obviously, Cooper Kupp is going to do Cooper Kupp stuff, and he did that last night. Cam Akers, his Achilles injury and his return from the Achilles, that doesn't look as though it's gone swimmingly well, especially when you consider how the other backs in the rotation looked last night when they had the opportunity. Allen Robinson announced with the starters, said his name and everything else, and then was promptly never to be seen again after that.
One catch for 12 yards. One catch for 12 yards. He played 57 of the Rams' 63 or 67 snaps. And one catch, very alarming considering that's about, I think, his season total from last year. He's picked up right where he left off. But all right, let's talk about the week 1 overall. Give me, Joe, somebody, not just for week 1, but somebody for the whole season who you think is really going to be a standout fantasy performer that people that may not have been really looking at.
Well, as a whole, Pat, and I'll give you a bonus pack, I think as a team, the Detroit Lions for fantasy purposes are really overlooked and under-respected. In fact, if you went into your draft, Jared Goff aside, I know how you feel about Jared the Goff, but overall, if you were just to pick Lions, you'd end up doing okay, right? DeAndre Swift, I think, has a chance to be among the top 4 fantasy backs this year. He's going to have basically no competition in that backfield. And it's an offense that really did run a lot of plays last year. Similarly, you've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, who, especially in PPR leagues, has a chance to win you some weeks. Jared Goff does throw the ball a lot. And I got TJ Hawkinson as the last guy in a 10-team league to draft the tight end, and I'm overjoyed about that. So big picture, if you're looking at maybe guys who, I'm not saying that any of those guys are going to be available week to week streaming, but you wouldn't necessarily think of the Lions as a fantasy juggernaut team. I'm excited about what they bring to the table this year.
Yeah, because they're always losing. And I guess from a fantasy angle, that's always terrific because come the fourth quarter, they're slinging it all over the yard. And that's when you get those garbage time points.
I call those Carson Palmer points.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine because so you're right. I think they're surprised. And of course, in terms of a fantasy bust, let me throw this name out at you. And I admit it, I have him in 2 leagues. And now I don't know if I did the right thing or not. And that's Saquon. I took him because I figured it's so rare to get an RB1 who doesn't split time. Look at Buffalo. They're running 3 guys out all night long. It's ridiculous. He's the only guy in New York. But is there going to be a successful year here for Saquon Barkley?
Maybe I'm just a sucker, Pat, but I believe that there's still a successful year ahead for Saquon Barkley. I look at a guy like him versus a guy like Ezekiel Elliott, and there's no competition. Like, to me, you look at a guy like Zeke, I think Zeke would be very surprising to have a good year. But for the reasons that you mentioned, and also your lion eyes aren't that big of a liar. Saquon Barkley was a good player before those injuries. Now, if he's healthy, who knows? If the offense is going to be healthier as a whole with Daniel Jones and whatnot, who knows? But I am a believer, at least for one more year, that we might get it out of Saquon.
Yeah, I hope so. Like I said, I took him. I'm going to look awful bad if he turns out to be another bust, but we'll see how that goes. You mentioned Zeke. That's a team, Joey, I think is from a fantasy angle, it could be a long year. I mean, there's just not that. I don't like the Cowboys' offensive line. I don't like their running game, and I don't see much talent at the wide receiver position other than CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, well, so CD has the chance now, especially that you have some of those other competitors for targets out of the way. I think CD has a chance to have a really big year. But I agree with you overall. As a team, the things that made the Cowboys work in the past were that offensive line and that running game. Unless they're willing to commit to Pollard being the lead back there and really committing to the run, I could see them having a stronger season. But I agree. I don't like anything that's going on at tight end. I don't like much beyond Lamb that's going on at receiver. I told you how I feel about Zeke already. Dak could have a good year, but you have so many other options at quarterback that's a team that I'd probably stay away from overall.
It just doesn't. But I don't think, Joe, it bodes well in Dallas. I really don't. I think that I mentioned earlier in this program that I think the Rams are going to take a step back. And I think Dallas is going to take a step back. I think they're both going to be playoff teams, but I don't see either one winning their division. I think it's going to be tough years for those two. Let me hit you with one more team, Joey, and tell me if how excited you are. The addition of Russell Wilson in Denver. It's been a wasteland, really, in terms of a passing fantasy attack the last few years, really ever since Peyton left. Now they get Russell Wilson. How excited are you about both Wilson and guys like Jerry Jeudy, Courtland Sutton?
Here's the best part about doing this show on a Friday is that I have all of the information that I didn't have if we were to talk about this on Tuesday. If you were to ask me about this on Tuesday, I would have told you how excited I was to see Russell Wilson in the Denver offense, even without any preseason action and things like that. But I'm sure that you've noticed the last couple of days, there's been plenty of time for the Russell Wilson smear campaign to come out of Seattle to talk about how he's lost a step and how he's a diva and all of these other things. His skills aren't quite there. So now I'm a little bit more in wait and see mode. I like Jeudy. I like Sutton. Both of those guys, I think, you have to play in any league. But Russell Wilson, we'll see. I mean, is there going to be in week 1 a little bit of a revenge factor? Yeah, probably. But is that something that sustains for the entire season? I'm lower on Wilson this year than I have been in years past, partially because I buy into the smear campaign. And the other reason is because at quarterback, it's just delicious this year. Quarterback has so many ways that you could go that taking a risk on a guy in a new situation like Wilson, new offense, new weapons, you don't need to do it early on.
Joey T is, and this whole segment presented by the good folks at Concrete Cutting Systems. Joe, It's funny. I talked about it earlier too. It's a young man's game, the NFL. And yet if you look at these quarterbacks, Matt Stafford, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Russell Wilson, I mean, these are senior citizens that people are banking on fantasy-wise. And not just fantasy-wise, the organizations are banking on them to get them to the promised land. On the other side, you got the gunslingers, Josh Allen, you got Justin Herbert, you got some serious Patty Mahomes. That's going to be very interesting to see who's there when the smoke clears at the end of the season.
Yeah, and when you think about it too, Pat, it's not just that, but you look at the younger guys as well. They tend to be, not always, tend to be the more mobile quarterbacks as well. So you're seeing those guys for fantasy purposes are getting 6 touchdown points instead of 4. That's pretty tasty. So fantasy owners pretty tempted by guys like Jalen Hurts and some of the other guys.
Look at Josh Allen. Look at Josh Allen. I mean, 4 touchdowns with seemingly not little effort, but just seemingly like bang. I mean, the guy's got a howitzer of an arm. I'm telling you, Buffalo is going to be one tough out all season long. All right, listen, Joey T, I appreciate you stepping in here. It was great seeing you again. I look forward to talking to you throughout the season. If you're willing to join me here, how do I look, by the way, Joey? I mean, do I still have that Sean Connery type aura around me? Or what do you
it is your rugged good looks that kept me coming back and believing in you the whole time. That truly is what kept me coming back.
You read it off just as I wrote it. So thank you very much for that. It was great. Good seeing you again. Look forward to seeing you real soon. All right, Joe?
Likewise. Looking forward to it, Pat.
All right. That's Joe, my old buddy Joe Tordy joining me here. And it's great talking to him again about some fantasy football. By the way, I'm sometimes I am remiss. Barrett was brought to you by the great folks at First Bank of New Jersey. So I wanted to make sure I get that out there. When we get back after this short break, I'm going to be joined by Shawn Green from BetSGPN Sports out in Las Vegas. Shawn will be crowing like a rooster because he's already off to a real fast start. We'll talk about some interesting props and some lines for week 1 on This Week in Pro Football.
Evolution Energy Partners has helped hundreds of businesses save millions of dollars on their energy spend. They offer electricity and gas procurement strategies, efficiency audits and engineering and financing solutions, as well as online utility bill management. To learn how your business can save, visit www.evolutionep.com or contact Chuck Herschella at 610-329-8288. Evolution Energy Partners, energy solutions to improve your bottom line.
Concrete Cutting Systems Incorporated, the concrete cutting specialists in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. These guys are celebrating their 28th anniversary as the industry leader in the field of concrete cutting and robotic demolition. Any type of concrete cutting or drilling, concrete demolition or interior excavating, call the specialists. Concrete Cutting Systems. They're the only full union concrete cutting company based in Philadelphia. Call the guys today at 215-533-0652. The website is concretecuttingsystems.net. Let's go Eagles.
UGI Energy Services knows how dedicated you are to your teams, and that's how they feel about their customers. UGI Energy Services, a natural gas and electric provider servicing Philadelphia and the surrounding areas for decades. They're your local partner for energy planning and budgeting with sound purchasing advice and direct pricing. UGI Energy Services values customers and believes in building honest relationships. Let them help you save money on your energy bill and make enjoying the game that much sweeter. Get started with a free quote today at ugies.com. Are you looking for a family-friendly fitness center in the heart of Bucks County? Spring Mill Athletic Club has programs and activities to offer the whole family for every age and season. Group classes, personal training, dance academy, summer camp, and more can be found at this non-intimidating environment. Come tour Spring Mill Athletic Club today and get a free 1-week trial membership. Visit us at springmillathletic.com for more information.
Johnny Apple's Restaurant and Bar opened in 2001 and for over 20 years has been serving great food and good times to Bucks County residents, friends, and family. Ideally located at 184 Buck Road in Holland, Johnny Apple's offers a terrific array of steaks, seafood, and daily specials. They also host private parties and affairs of any size. For excellent food, great company, and a relaxed lunch or dinner, check out Johnny Apple's Restaurant at 215-953-9900 or at johnnyapplesrestaurant.com.
Welcome back to This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan joining you here on JAKIB Sports. And I am thrilled to have with me right now the great Shawn Green from the SGPN podcast and sgpnpodcast.com. I know I've gotten him up at a god-awful time to join me, and I appreciate the effort. Shawn, good morning. How are you, pal?
Yeah, thanks for having me. And yeah, it was a little early here in Las Vegas. Was out celebrating the big win over the Bills over the Rams. Apparently, apparently they didn't need Brian Daboll. They still figured it out. So all the Giants fans that think Josh Allen was just good because of Brian Daboll, you might be in trouble. So great start to the season.
It is great. By the way, right after Shawn, I got the great Gary Myers coming on. Make sure you stay tuned for that. But Shawn, I saw that last night on Twitter. You jumped all over Buffalo, and Buffalo certainly jumped all over Los Angeles. I've been saying throughout this show this morning that I think the Bills are going to be a steamroller. How do you see it? And do you see anyone, even though there's a lot of talent in the AFC, Cincinnati, the Chargers, the Chiefs, I think Buffalo's head and shoulders above the rest. How do you see it?
Yeah, no, I mean, everyone likes to talk about Josh Allen. We just started talking about Josh Allen, but look at that defense. That defense was great last night, and I think their defense is pretty underrated. That's why I was all over them last night. I think their defense is quietly going to be what carries them to a number one seed and pretty far in the playoffs.
Yeah, the addition of Von Miller. Sometimes you just get that last addition, and you can see the difference it makes. He has such a motor, that guy.
Oh yeah,
and he was a dominant force last night. So I think it's going to be Buffalo's going to be a tough team to beat throughout the season. Tell me, Shawn, what else do you like in terms of Week 1? Now, Xander, if you want to bring that schedule up for me, I'd appreciate it very much. The Week 1 schedule. Tell me what else. Shawn, catches your eye, and what to look for maybe in a couple games for this week.
Well, Week 1's good. Even if you're a bad team, like Week 1 could be a good spot because you don't realize you're a bad team yet, so you get up for it. I really like I really like division game underdogs. They are 28-9-1 ATS in Week 1 since 2015. And it kind of makes sense, division games. It's they're always going to get up for them, and it's easy to be really down on a team coming in, and the numbers off. I love the Texans as a home dog. You can get it like +7.5 here in Vegas. The Colts are really bad in their season openers. They've lost 8 season openers in a row, 1-10 in the last 11. I think this Texans team overall is going to surprise people. You got, now he's Shaquille Leonard, but Darius Leonard, he's coming off an injury. He won't be 100% for the Colts. You have Matt Ryan on the road. I'm not in on Matt Ryan this season. And then I think there's a lot of questions at left tackle for the Colts as well. They're starting Matt Pryor, who was a 6th round pick for the Eagles back in 2018, and the Eagles aren't really one to let really good offensive linemen leave. So I think the Texans are going to be in this game. I think they're going to be a live dog. And they, I heard you guys talking fantasy in the segment before, but Dameon Pierce, that rookie running back for the Texans, he could have a big game as well.
Be interesting to see that. I did grab Brandon Cook, so I'm hoping that connection that he seemed to form last year with Davis Mills. It'd be interesting to see if Mills can. I thought he showed some promise last year, Shawn, and hopefully he can maintain a steady ship there. You're right. Houston could surprise. There's another home dog in your backyard. What are your thoughts on what should be a very entertaining game if they pick up where they left off last year, Vegas and the Chargers?
Yeah, Vegas and Chargers. It is in Los Angeles, but you're right in calling them
in Vegas. Oh, you're right. No. It's in Los Angeles. You're right.
But you're right in saying that they are a home dog, because if you've been to Los Angeles, there are more Raiders fans than Chargers fans.
Yeah.
I like the Raiders there catching 3.5 as well. This feels like a field goal game. I love the Chargers as a roster. I love their talent. The coach loses me sometimes. I like an aggressive coach. As Eagles fan, 2017 was a great year for Doug Peterson, but Staley seems to go a little crazy with that.
You're right.
And the Chargers are going to be missing their big cornerback acquisition, J.C. Jackson, essentially because they're the Chargers. Like they always have a great roster, a lot of talent. They just can't put it together. So I'll take the 3.5.
That's interesting. I said the same thing, Shawn, earlier in the show. I mean, I picked the Chargers to win the AFC West, which I think is clearly the toughest division in football. The Chargers have immense talent, but you're right. The Chargers can't stop being the Chargers. Maybe This is one year where they can actually do it, but we'll see. We'll see about it. By the way, Shawn being presented by the good folks at UGI here. All right, Shawn, I want to do a little something we're going to do every week. I know you've been up all night thinking about it and how excited you are about this little pick segment that I do where you and I are going to pick 3 games against the spread each week. We're going to track it all season long, and I'm going to see. It's nice you agreed. If I stay within 30 games by the end of the season, you owe me a tremendous amount of money. So thank you for agreeing to that. Let me give you the con first. You can pick any 3 games that you want. Could be the ones you already mentioned, Shawn. Who you liking for this week?
Yeah, so give me Houston plus 7.5. Another one that I really like is, again, I'm going division dogs again with the Steelers catching 6.5. You know, I do like the Bengals over win total, but, you know, Joe Burrow, he's coming back from an appendix where he lost 20 pounds. Yeah. I feel like that storyline isn't getting discussed enough. And you have Mike Tomlin, he's great as an underdog, 45-24 against the spread as an underdog, and Super Bowl losers, 5-21 against the spread in their first game the following season. The Bengals swept the Steelers last season. I think this is a revenge spot for the Steelers team. I like their defense. I like TJ Watt. And I think getting Brian Flores on their coaching staff is quietly a nice little pickup there. So I like the Steelers plus 6.5. Now, I know I kept talking about division dogs, but I actually like the Packers at the Vikings. I think it's at minus 1.5 right now. I think Aaron Rodgers, there's a couple of quarterbacks I think coming into this season with a chip on their shoulder, Aaron Rodgers being one of them. I mean, you know, he's on some campaign. You see him on every show.
I know.
He doesn't have any Devontae Adams, but I think he's fired up. And I think the Vikings, their offense could be interesting. But I think they're going to miss Mike Zimmer on the defensive side. You know, I don't think the Vikings had amazing talent. And again, Packers, everyone wants to talk about no Devontae Adams, but they quietly have a really good defense, much like the Bills. And then just Aaron Rodgers against the spread historically, 120 and 79 since 2009. So I think the Vikings, and last but not least, David Bakhtiari is finally back for the Packers, their left tackle. So I think having him back is big for them as well. So give me the Packers minus 1.5.
I'm surprised Aaron Rodgers has a shoulder left. He's got so many chips on it. I don't know if there's anything underneath those pads, but we'll see. But I'm going to go with Carolina minus 1.5 against Cleveland. I'm sorry, I'm not drinking the Browns Kool-Aid with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. I'm going to grab Philly minus 4 against Detroit. It's funny. Everybody loves the Hard Knocks team, Shawn. Everybody loves the Hard Knocks team after that's over. But I mean, 44-6 last year, Philadelphia beat them in the same building. I can't imagine they can't win this game outright again by at least a touchdown margin.
Well, yeah, totally agree. Obviously, and Detroit also missing their right tackle, Big V. I think that's going to hurt them.
And at Tampa Bay minus 2.5. I do not like the Cowboys this year, Shawn. Now, I said earlier in the show, which time is Tommy Brady really in this for his 23rd season? I think he'll be in it for week 1. I think the Buccaneers are clearly a field goal better than Dallas, even though the game's in Dallas. So I'm going to grab the Bucs. And hopefully I'll go 3-0 and I stay with you. But thank you very much, Shawn.
Thanks for having me.
We look forward. Oh, by the way, how do people find you? I know you got all the things going on here. I love this website, the Sports Gambling Podcast. You have all kinds of podcasts on here. What are you working on right now?
Yeah, sportsgamblingpodcast.com. Just put out our NFL Week 1 picks podcast, picking every game against the spread. We also picked like 14 college football games. So again, pro football, college football, and then our Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We got every sport covered. So if you're still betting MLB this time of year, we got you covered as well. Ton of college, pro football. So just Google Sports Gambling Podcast. You can't miss us.
All right. Shawn, thanks very much, bye. I look forward to talking to you each and every week as we rumble through this, what promises to be a very interesting NFL season. Thanks very much.
Take it easy, Pat. Appreciate it.
All right, Shawn, thanks. Now let me bring on here a gentleman I've admired for a long time and has one hell of a resume. He's covering the NFL since 1978, the Dallas Morning News, the New York Daily News. He's a Hall of Fame elector and the author of books I've read, Brady versus Manning, and How About Them Cowboys. That's Gary Myers. Good morning, Gary.
Pat, how you doing today?
All right. I appreciate you coming on, Gary. I look forward to having you on throughout this season. And Gary, I gave you a busy agenda, but we're going to get through all of it. First, you were one of the first alums of Inside the NFL, which always was, to me, the preeminent show and so much better than the laugh track nonsense that passes for analysis or pregame shows in the NFL these days. Give me your thoughts on the passing of the great Len Dawson.
You know, Pat, I worked with Lenny for 13 years, 1989 to 2001. And by far, the nicest person I've ever met in this business. Just such an even-keeled guy. Lenny the Cool was his nickname as a player. Right. Mm-hmm. And he was that way on Inside the NFL. He made my transition from, being a newspaper guy to incorporating television into my daily routine. He made it so much easier for me because he was just so calm. I was young. I was nervous on national television, right? Weekly for the first time, and Lenny was just a joy to be around. And I know a lot of people remember him from the show, which is great. But he was a terrific player and a two-time quarterback in the Super Bowl. He won the Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl IV. I have nothing but good things to say about Len.
Lenny the Cool, that's funny, that famous photo of him smoking a cigarette during halftime of the first Super Bowl. But seemingly a great guy, and it's I knew that you knew him, and it's great to get.
Yeah, I knew him really well.
The Gary, Week 1 opens up with Buffalo. I thought sending a message to not just the Los Angeles Rams, but the league in general. But let me ask you about the Rams. I mentioned earlier in my show that there's been no repeat Super Bowl champion since 1994 when New England did it.
2004.
2004. Thank you. And I think there's a reason for that. I just think it's almost an impossible slog. And I see the Rams taking a step back. Mm-hmm. Is it likely that any team will ever win back-to-back Super Bowls again?
I think it could happen. Seattle almost did it, beating Manning and Brady back-to-back. Yeah, the worst call in sports history, having Russell Wilson throw in that situation, cost Seattle the second championship. Yeah. But you're right; it's really hard. Super Bowl champions traditionally get picked apart in free agency. The motivation is never the same the second year. I think it's true that it's easier to achieve the first time than to maintain. And just what you said, since 2003-04. Patriots, it's almost 20 years now since a Super Bowl champion is repeated. It's just a really difficult thing to do. And, people also forget, Pat, that, the Rams took the long way to the Super Bowl because they weren't a top seed. They could have lost to Tampa after blowing that huge lead.
I know.
And if not for a terrible defensive holding call on that last drive, Cincinnati might have beat them in the Super Bowl. So they were not one of these dominant teams that are coming back, trying to do it again. I thought that they were a team with a lot of holes last year. And then when you look at them this year, no Von Miller, who was a big pickup the second half of last season, as was Odell Beckham Jr. I think Odell will wind up going back to the Rams when he's ready to play. But, who knows when that's going to be coming off the ACL. And, I think the Rams got pretty full of themselves in the offseason, and it's going to be apparent, I think, this season.
And that's it, Gary, what you just mentioned there. I think it's emblematic of a lot of Super Bowl champions, and not just even in football. But the accolades and the worshiping and the parades and it's just never ending. And I just can't believe that teams can reach down and find again. I mean, unless you're true professionals like a Brady, let's say a Belichick, I just think it's almost impossible to do. And I think the Rams could be in for a rough season. Now, speaking about rough seasons, Gary, you and I have spoken in the past about the state of New York football, the annual optimism that accompanies the Jets, who have a brutal opening schedule. But let's talk about the New York Giants in the context of the NFC East.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on, say, the Giants coming out? Are they in any way markedly improved over last year's version? New coaching staff. Give me your a capsule on Big Blue.
Well, first of all, when you're talking about the state of New York football, over the last 5 years, the Jets and Giants are each 22 and 59, tied with each other for the worst record in the NFL over that period of time.
Yeah, in the biggest city in
it's unbelievable.
Biggest city in the country.
Yeah, the Jets have lost 12 straight games in September, and over the last 5 years, in no particular order, the Giants have started 0-2 twice, 0-3, and 0-5 twice. So before we even get to the end of September, the last 5 years, the Giants season has been pretty much over. Now, whether we can expect anything different this year, Brian Daboll is definitely an improvement over Joe Judge, but Pat, quite frankly, so would Ugi. He was just totally overmatched as a head coach, and it was apparent in the way the team played his 2 years, with the Giants. Everybody talks about, and I heard you talking earlier about, is Brian Daboll the one that was responsible for Josh Allen? Yeah, I think that, he helped them get rid of the training wheels and ride a two-wheeler, and Josh Allen now is certainly capable of riding the bike on his own. And now it's a question of whether whether Daboll can do the same for Daniel Jones, who's basically playing for his career in New York this year because the Giants did not pick up his fifth-year option for 2023.
Right.
If they can keep him healthy and they can keep Saquon Barkley healthy, and both those things have been impossible to do the last couple of years, then the Giants will be better simply because those guys are better than anybody else that they have at those positions, and they're better on the sidelines with Daboll. But just in terms of personnel, the Giants are not much better than they were last year.
Yeah. The Giants you're right, they have serious health issues. Their wide receivers were decimated last year by injury. Saquon, that terrible ankle injury. But Daniel Jones, I said earlier, Gary, in this show, and Dave Gettleman makes that pick, boy, it's so hard to undo that. You know what I mean? It clearly was a mistake of a pick, and the Giants have now been trying to work around it ever since Gettleman made it. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know about much hope for the Giants. I think the Eagles are ascendant right now. But I think the Giants have a shot to get to 500. We'll see if they can pull it off.
Well, you can't believe 500 with 17 games. But
now, Gary, now you're getting now. Very shrewd now. You didn't allow me any excess there, any wiggle room. But you're right.
No,
go 8-8-1, Gary.
Yeah, you're right. I stand corrected. But this just in terms of the Jets. Typical Jets, their team this season is dedicated to Zach Wilson, and he's going to miss at least the first 3 games with a knee injury that he suffered against the Eagles in the first preseason game. They lose Mekhi Becton for the season with a kneecap injury. They signed Dwayne Brown, and he's got a shoulder injury, so he's not going to play on Sunday. So without the 2 guys that they had pegged in at left tackle, they're out without their quarterback. The best thing they have going for him Sunday is Joe Flacco's motivation against his old team in Baltimore. But I can't imagine that's going to be enough to get them to pass the pretty good Ravens team.
I think it's going to be a rough September and October for the Jets. And I just think it's Gary. It's going to be another tough year for New York football.
Well, Pat, maybe not as bad as you think, because they are going to play the Browns without Deshaun Watson. And who knows, with Trubisky at quarterback, how he's going to play for the Steelers and, how long he's going to be able to hold on to that job before they go to the rookie Kenny Pickett. So it's bizarre. They're playing the AFC North the first 4 weeks of the season. But I don't think it's quite as daunting as it might have been, a year or so ago, when the quarterback situations were a little bit different.
Yeah, I know. Right. All right, Gary, let me before I let you go here, just new the NFL as usual turns over X number. In this case, it's only 5, which is really a light year for new coaches in the NFL. But let me hit you with each name and just give me an up or down. Will the team be better than it was in terms of the 2021 version? Starting with Brian Dable in New York. You see that team. We talked about him, a better version than last year, right?
Yeah, I think they'll be able to win more than 4 games, maybe not much more than 6, but I think they'll be better coached and better organized. And by the end of the season, the arrow will be pointing up on the Giants' future. Whether or not Daniel Jones will be the quarterback next year, I just think the Giants will play better this year.
Right. Matt Eberflus takes over in Chicago, a rather anonymous hiring by the Bears there. Not one of these Sean McVay offensive genius guys.
Right.
The Bears have a long way to go, in my opinion. Gary, your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I would have liked to see them hire an offensive coach to tutor Justin Fields, who is the key to their future. I can't remember what the Bears' record was last year. It wasn't very good.
No.
Because their pick would have been 6th, except they had traded it to the Giants and maybe win 5 games or so last year. I would say the same, or maybe even a game or 2 worse. There's not a lot of talent in Chicago.
No. Bears were 6-11, and I'm not sold on Justin Fields yet. No, I don't know. I think he could be in for a rough year, like you said. There's just not a lot of talent in Chicago.
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing in Chicago is the possibility of them building a dome stadium in the suburbs.
I know. Nathaniel Hackett takes over in Denver. Now, this is a team that most people say the arrow is pointing up. Russell Wilson joining the Broncos. Your thoughts on how it bodes for him in 2022?
Well, him getting hired as a head coach, Pat, makes me feel really old because I used to cover his dad, Paul Hackett, when I was in Dallas, and Hackett
and the Chiefs,
came there as a passing game coordinator.
Right.
I think it's a great endorsement that Aaron Rodgers loved him, and that a lot of teams considered him to be a head coach candidate with the arrow pointing up on his career. And again, I heard you talking earlier about all the stuff, the smear campaign on Russell Wilson.
Right.
I'm not going to buy it right now because I think he still has a ton of physical ability, and he still throws the best deep ball in the league. And they have dynamic receivers, despite some injuries there in Denver. But I really like Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton. So I say the arrow pointing up in Denver in a very tough division.
That is. I said that. I think it's the toughest division for 2022, without a doubt. The last 2 names, Gary, are these offensive wonder-kind names. Mike Daniel in Miami, Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Joe Tordy, who was my guest before you, mentioned it. I'm sorry, it was Shawn Green who mentioned that, the offensive arrow points up in Minnesota, but maybe they might miss Mike Zimmer a little bit. What do you think of the Vikings?
I've never been sold on Kirk Cousins. And maybe the best coaching he's had in his career was when he was in Washington with the Shanahans. But he certainly hasn't justified the money that he's been paid there. I mean, he has got this business part of the NFL down pat. The guy's been making $30 million.
You do have to give him that, yeah.
It's unbelievable. The Sean McVay coaching tree is what everybody wants a piece of now, and whether Kevin O'Connell can, make the toughest jump in sports, which is from being an assistant coach to a head coach in the NFL. I mean, that remains to be seen. Obviously, we'll see how much he's learned from McVay and how much he can implement to try to get Kirk Cousins to that next step. I would say it's a lateral situation in Minnesota. They'll be about a 500 team as they've been for the last few years.
All right, and then the last one, Mike Daniel goes to Miami.
Mike Daniel, yeah,
throws probably the best long deep ball in the NFL. I think Tua throws the worst deep ball in the NFL. I don't know if Miami, I don't care what kind of offensive genius you hire, is Miami going to be able to overcome what I consider to be a shortcoming at quarterback?
I mean, that's a great question because obviously Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They probably have the best pair of receivers, and we're just talking about the top two of any team in the league. What you have to remember about Tyreek Hill, obviously he's a tremendous deep threat, but he also does a lot of damage on those short crossing routes, and then the yards after the catch. And Waddle, the same thing. And Tua has been an accurate quarterback, although you don't want him throwing the ball 30 yards down the field. So I think they're going to do their business, maybe between the hashes, 15 to 20 yards down the field, and then count on those receivers to make the yards after the catch. And McDaniels, comes from the Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And I actually think that Kyle Shanahan is a better offensive mind than Sean McVay. I think he's much more creative, much more innovative. And I know this guy was highly thought of, and he's got talent to work with, offensive talent to work with in Miami. And that team, Brian Flores really didn't do anything to lose his job, and they put together a pretty good roster there. So I say arrow definitely pointing up in Miami.
Be interesting to see Gary too in Miami as an example. I crowned Buffalo. I already crowned them the AFC champion, but Miami should be certainly in the conversation for a wild card.
Absolutely.
Tua holds up. Gary, listen, I kept you a long time. I appreciate it. I always love having you on. I look forward to having you on throughout this season. And one of the things I want to talk to you about as the season rolls along, be interesting to see how Tom Brady, what he does in that 23rd season in Tampa Bay. I think that'll be fascinating to track that and many, many other stories as we rumble along here in the NFL. So thanks very much for joining me.
Take care, Pat. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Gary, great Gary Myers joining me right there. And that's going to do it for week one of This Week in Pro Football. That was a great job, Xander Krause. Thank you very much for producing. Very enjoyable. Thanks to all my guests for coming on. And we're going to have next week, I hope to have Sal Palantonio rejoining me, in addition to some other notables, including Gary Myers. We'll have a lot to talk about as the season rolls along. I want you to stick with me, stick with JAKIB Sports here. And thanks for watching This Week in Pro Football.
It was late at night. I was browsing KennedyAuto.com when there was a knock at my door.
Hey, baby, what you doing?
Buying a car from John Kennedy Ford.
Online?
I let her in on the secret. KennedyAuto.com makes car buying easy. That got her attention.
Can I go for a ride?
Let me get my coat. KennedyAuto.com. Enjoy your ride.
Where do you tailgate when your team's away? Join Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill for their first ever Birds Tailgate Party on Sunday, September 25th, starting at noon under the tent. Enjoy a full tailgate buffet from only $26.95 per person, along with specials at the bar. Celebrate with friends cheering on our hometown team. Judd's and Jackson's at Spring Mill Athletic Club. Visit juddsdining.com for more details.
Evolution Energy Partners has helped hundreds of businesses save millions of dollars on their energy spent. They offer electricity and gas procurement strategies, efficiency audits and engineering and financing solutions, as well as online utility bill management. To learn how your business can save, visit www.evolutionep.com or contact Chuck Herschella at 610-329-8288. Evolution Energy Partners, energy solutions to improve your bottom line.
Attention, attention neighbors. I have something big to announce.
Hey, hon, is that Tim on the roof with a megaphone?
M&T Bank's Easy Choice Checking is now free from a monthly maintenance fee and free from a minimum balance requirement.
Bill, did you hear that?
Oh. And while I'm up here, Bill, I'd appreciate it if you stopped breaking your leaves into my lawn.
Bill!
Thank you.
Big news! Easy Choice Checking from M&T Bank is now even better than before. It's free from a monthly maintenance fee and free from a minimum balance requirement, leaving you, well, free from worry.
Now, does anyone have a ladder?
So if you're looking for an easy-to-manage account that can help you save on fees, look no further than Easy Choice Checking from M&T. Stop by any M&T Bank branch today or visit mtb.com/easychoice. M&T Bank, understanding what's important. Other transaction and service fees, including insufficient funds and overdraft fees, may apply to this account. Member FDIC.